In this first review video of the First World War, we're going to run through the pre-war great powers of Europe, starting with taking a look here at the map of Europe as it looked in 1914, and we notice that it's quite a bit different from the map of Europe that we would see today. We've got a much larger Germany, we've got a larger Russia, we've got some countries that just don't exist at this point, like Poland. We've got a Austria-Hungarian Empire, we've got an Ottoman Empire. So the map looks quite a bit different. We're going to run through the great powers of Europe at the time of the start of the First World War, starting with Great Britain. For Britain, they are the wealthiest of the European powers, the most liberal, and by that I mean they offer the most political freedom for their citizens within Great Britain. It's an industrial powerhouse. It's the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution dating back to the 18th century. They've got massive colonial holdings stretching around the world. This is the time that it was said that the sun never set on the British Empire. So we've got colonial holdings in Africa, creating a nearly unbroken stretch from Egypt all the way to South Africa, the Far East, South Asia, with India being the crown jewel of the British Empire. Militarily speaking, Britain's got the largest navy in the world by far. We can see here that when it comes to large naval vessels or just sheer tonnage of their entire fleet, they outclass every other of the great powers, including the upstart Germany. Germany was quickly growing by 1914, the size of their navy, but they were still half the size of the British Navy. But when it comes to land armies, it's a different story. Great Britain, being an island, did not require the need for a large standing army, and so they didn't have it. Most of the military resources for Britain went towards their navy. Next on the docket is Germany. This is what Germany looks like in 1914, made up of its constituent parts that unified in 1871 following the defeat of France in the Franco-Prussian War. So we've got a larger Germany now, unified in 1871 between Prussia and the German principalities in the West. They've got a large population. They're industrially modern. They've got the strongest army in Europe. We can take again a look at this graph. They've got now, while it's not the largest standing army, Russia's got that. They're certainly the most modern and well equipped of the standing armies in Europe. So don't let the numbers deceive you here. The defeat of France in the Franco-Prussian War resulted in this unification of Germany, which gives a little bit of an upset to the balance of powers in Europe that had existed since 1815 at the Congress of Vienna. So after that war, Germany, the new Germany, had conquered a region of France known as Alsace and Lorraine, and you can see that down here in now the new southwest Germany. With the conquering of Alsace and Lorraine, Germany, of course, knows that France is going to be angry and is going to want that territory back. Concerned about French retaliation, Germany is going to enter into an alliance with Austria-Hungary following the Franco-Prussian War. Later, Italy will join into that alliance as well because they've got some border concerns with France by their own right. Germany was late to the imperial game, but they do have some holdings and some influence in Africa and East Asia. Now France. France was also an industrialized power. They've got the second largest empire of the European powers with holdings not only in Africa but also in Southeast Asia. However, they were defeated by Germany in the Franco-Prussian War of 1870 and 1871, and with that they lost that territory of Alsace and Lorraine to Germany. They've got a smaller population with slower economic growth than the other continental powers. They, for their part, would hope to limit the growing power of Germany by signing an alliance, or what was known as an entente, an agreement with the Russian Empire. Even though France and Russia have virtually nothing politically in common with each other, France being one of the more liberal states in Western Europe, while Russia was the most autocratic state in Europe, they would sign an entente with each other to alleviate the German threat that they each shared. Russia. When it comes to Russia, we're going to take a look at the Russian Empire here in 1914. They are an autocratic government ruled still by the same Romanov family, the current Tsar Nicholas II. is teetering at this point. The Russian Empire and the Tsar have faced challenges for the last couple decades to their authority, with liberals in Russia wanting more political freedom for themselves. Russia is also extremely ethnically diverse, and you can see that they share a huge border with both Germany and Austria-Hungary that will prove very difficult to defend. They also share a border with the Ottoman Empire, and that will become important in the story of the war. Austria-Hungary here, and we'll just leave this map going. Austria-Hungary is the weakest of these five great powers. They're extremely ethnically diverse, with challenges from growing nationalist movements within their empire, especially from a growing Serbian population in a region of Austria-Hungary known as Bosnia that was recently annexed by the empire, and we'll talk more about that later. Other powers we need to be concerned with leading up to the First World War are the Ottoman Empire. By this point, the Ottoman Empire is known as the sick man of Europe. We can see on this map that the Ottoman Empire has been losing territory for most of the 19th century, and by the time we get to World War I, they are left with just their Anatolian and Middle Eastern holdings. The Ottoman Empire is being pushed by the great powers. Britain is exerting strong influence in the Ottoman as they see the Ottoman as the way they can get themselves to their crown jewel colony of India. Reform movements in the Ottoman Empire, decades in the 19th century, decades of reform known as the Tanzimat reforms, attempted to bring some liberalization and nationalization to the empire. But there are great challenges from ethnic minorities within that empire, some resulting, for example, in the independence of the Serbs and the Greeks in the 19th century, and later, as we push into the 20th century, desire from Arab populations to be independent from the Ottoman Empire. Mentioned a couple times the nation of Serbia. Here is Serbia down in what is known as the Balkan Peninsula of Europe. Serbia is a relatively newly independent Slavic state that is growing as a power in the Balkan Peninsula. Many Serbs, however, as I just mentioned, live outside of Serbia in an area known as Bosnia. And Bosnia, by the time we get to 1914, is a part of Austria-Hungary. Many of those Serbs living in Bosnia would rather be a part of a greater Serb nation. That will become important to our story. Another country that I want you to be familiar with is the nation of Belgium. Belgium is right here in northwestern Europe, wedged between France and Germany. Belgium is a relatively new country on the world scene in the 19th century. They were born in 1831, and they were promised protection by the other great powers in an agreement in 1839 in a treaty known as the Treaty of London in 1839. So Britain and France and Germany have all pledged to Belgium's neutrality and pledged to defend Belgian neutrality. Finally, the last country I want to mention is Italy. They're also, like Germany, a recently unified nation. They were born in the 1860s, and they've got some territorial disputes with France and with Austria-Hungary to their north. However, they will join a treaty alliance known as the Triple Alliance in the years leading up to the First World War. But I don't want to confuse you here, and I don't want to set you behind. As the war will come, Italy will not join in the fighting with Germany and Austria. They will actually eventually join the Entente powers, but more about that later. So now you've got the players that are going to lead to the cause of the First World War all understood, and tune in soon for the next video, which will discuss the long-term causes of the First World War.